Hello and welcome to this episode of Repurpose for Your Next Chapter. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you something that I have noticed a lot. I'm noticing a trend when successful, accomplished midlife women are asked to deliver a talk, a keynote, a speech to an audience of anything more than one. So I was at an event last week and I witnessed this thing yet again. And I'm seeing it way too often. But I think it's time that we address it once and for all now. Let's get to the bottom of this and knock this into touch and get practicing, get better with how we as midlife women share our message, our story, our talk. At this event last week, I was quite intrigued because I noticed two women share their message, their story. The first woman was she's actually a CEO, very successful, very accomplished CEO of a very successful organization. I will not share the name and I will not share her name, but suffice it to say that she is what many would call balling. She's a baller. She was asked to deliver a keynote, which she had planned, practiced, and prepared for. And she got on stage and she did a good job sharing a little bit about herself, what she does, her business, and sharing lessons with the audience. She was on the stage for maybe 25 to 30 minutes, at the end of which a few people clapped, and then there was a break. And after the break, another speaker took to the stage. This other woman, also midlife, and also successful, actually politically successful. She's very successful in her country. And she took to the stage. She also gave about a 25 to 30-minute keynote. About 10 minutes into her keynote, you could see the audience. You could see the audience literally, one by one, put their phones down because they had been on their phones, because it was, I guess we'd had a break and they were still in the mindset of being on a break. The more she spoke, the more I saw people put their phones down, start to engage with her. They started to lean in. They started to tune in. They looked at each other. Wow, what are we listening to here? They gave her their fullest attention. And after a while, a few of the audience members actually brought out tissue from their bag and started to dab their eyes. That is the power of storytelling. That is the power of moving your audience. That is the power of audience engagement, audience connection, and the beginning of transformation. Now, at the end of the day, the lady who had first taken to the stage, the first lady who I mentioned to you, she approached me and said, I noticed that there was a big difference between when I spoke and when the other lady spoke. She said, what do you think I could have done better? And I said, it's not so much what you could have done better. It's more what you could have done differently. I don't want to say better because better is kind of ranking them and comparing them. I'd say, let's say it's what you could have done differently. And I said to her, here is my diagnosis of what happened. And from what I see, typically, and I'm about to generalize, so please don't say, oh, XYZ doesn't do that. I am generalizing here. But what I find is that typically women over 50, women who are very successful, they may be academically accomplished, they may be career accomplished, they may have hit a threshold in their income level, and they may then be viewed as their success may be viewed by the average person in the audience as unreachable, unattainable. They're viewed as being, as I said, they're boring. And also, this applies to corporate women, especially mid to senior level corporate women. So if you're over 50, if you're viewed as successful, whether you're viewed as career successful, personally successful, professionally successful in the business realm, and if you're corporate, there's a tendency to be not naturally given to vulnerability. There's a tendency to only talk about our highs, our successes, and less so about what we don't do so well. For a lot of us, being told, don't wash your dirty linen in public. There's certain things you keep at home and they stay at home. So it's the way a lot of us were raised. We don't share certain things. We don't discuss certain things. We're ashamed of certain parts of our lives. That's not what I'm suggesting. But I am saying that when we are speaking to an audience, that we aspire to inspire and then to take action, I am suggesting that we may need to go 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4 levels deeper in our ability to be vulnerable, our ability to be transparent, our ability to share from a place of not so glamorous, not so successful, because that's where the impact really lies. As I said to this lady at the event, I said, you didn't get to the top. You didn't get where you are without a climb. I cannot believe that you were born and everything that happened in your life was a case of the Midas touch. And you got to where you are without you having to climb through. So the invitation when you go on stage is to share about that climb. Share about the stuff that you had to navigate, because some of the audience is in that stuff. Your audience is at various points in your stuff that you have had to navigate through. And even if you're just one step ahead, you've gone through more stuff than they have. The lessons are in the stuff. So share the climb, because that's where the lessons are. That's where the growth is. That's what you have had to navigate through. That's what you learned through. And so that's really what you're teaching. The second thing I said to her is, so first of all, identify your climb and your success. So in this case, I'm the CEO of this company, and this is what we do, and this is how much we've made, and this is how many people we employ, and this is where we're based, and this is how much I travel around the world, and these are our goals, this is our mission. Share that stuff. But the beauty is in, as I said, the climb. Because here is the thing, when you share all that, I'm the CEO of this company, this is what we do, this is what we stand for, this is who we employ, this is how much we've made, these are our missions, these are our goals, these are our objectives, these are our trading partners, these are our investors. And then you say, but that's not how it started. You know what that single phrase does? But that's not how it started. That single phrase is telling people story, story. And you probably know, you've probably heard that we learn through stories. We impact through stories. We connect through stories. We share through stories. We teach through stories. We coach through stories. We mentor through stories. It's in the story. So when you tell somebody, but that's not how it started, you're telling them, effectively, you're telling them once upon a time. You're telling them once upon a time. When you say that's not where it started, you know what a person does? They lean in and they're asking a silent question. Where did it start? Because those are your lessons. Let's move on. So when you think about sharing your story, crafting your message, delivering your message to an audience, don't just think about what you want them to know, but also think about how you want them to feel as a result of hearing you speak. It's in the emotion. The transformation is in the emotion. The change is in the emotion. The lessons are in the emotion. How do you want them to feel? Not just what you want them to know, but how do you want them to feel? Let me share this. I heard one of my coaches, I think it was Les Brown, my very first speaker coach, who said, where you speak from is where you speak to. If you speak from the head, if you speak all about logic and facts and figures and data, that's speaking from your head. And what you're connecting with in your audience, whether it's an audience of one or an audience of many, what you're connecting with is with their head. There's no emotion in the brain. There is a certain level of depth that the brain can simply not access. That's not what it's designed for. It can't do that. But if you speak from your heart, you're connecting directly with the heart of your audience. And it's the heart that connects. It's the heart that feels. It's the heart that takes them on a journey. It's their heart that makes them relive the story. It's in the feeling. It's in the emotion. So remember that where you speak from is where you speak to. By all means, speak from the head, because we do in fact need facts and figures. But remember that the facts and figures don't tell a story. They don't connect. The story is what people will remember and is how they will feel. You've probably heard the quote from Dr. Maya Angelou. People may forget what you said, but people will never forget how you made them feel. It's all about the story. That's the connection. And so the third thing I said to this lady at the event was, then transfer the lesson from your climb. Transfer the lesson from the climb. If I simply tell you, don't do this, think about people who tell you, don't do this. The minute they finish talking, sometimes even before they finish talking, you stop listening. Think about teachers from when you were at school. You will most likely find that the teachers that you remember even now, 10, 20, 30, 40, maybe even 50 years later, are those that you connect with a story or stories. Test it and see. Even if it was a maths teacher, where people say, oh, maths is all about analytics and logic and data and numbers, and it is. But if you had a maths teacher who was able to connect the numbers with emotion, chances are you remember that teacher. Test it out. These are the top 3 things I did to get out of that situation. These are the reasons why I did those top 3 things. You're automatically teaching without telling your audience that you're teaching, because they're making notes. You could even say, you may want to write this down, because this may be your route out of where you are. And they will take their pens and start to write down, what did you do first? And then what did you do? And then what did you do? Those are your lessons. Transfer the teaching through your lessons. Share what you did. And those are your lessons. They're also, by the way, your framework or your method or your system or your steps or your processes, if you're looking to package this up to teach. A midlife woman who's looking to take her life experiences to craft into a powerful message that she uses to help people to transform their lives. And I'm going to invite you to join us 2 weeks from yesterday and today for a 2-day transformational event here in London in the UK at the Landmark Hotel. It's on the 13th and 14th of September 2025. I invite you to pack up your suitcase and join us for a 2-day transformational event. You will emerge from that 2-day experience with your message, your story, identified and crafted and ready for you to not only share on stages, but that will be the foundation, the bedrock of your brand and your business. Because without a message, without a voice, you can't attract people to whatever you're doing in your next chapter. So just as by way of a recap, the first is, I said, you didn't get to the top without a climb. So share the climb. The second thing I said was, don't just think about what you want people, but even more importantly, think about what you want them to feel. And not just what you want them to do and what you want them to know, but how you want them to feel. Because the connection, the lessons, the value, the insights are in how they feel. The third thing I shared with her was transfer the lessons, not as a series of do's and don'ts, but transfer the lessons by sharing your own lessons. Your lessons are their lessons. And the fourth and final is always leave your audience feeling better than how you found them. Give them a sense of hope. Leave them feeling that they can do it, that they can climb out. Remember that your audience is somewhere between where it started and where you are now. You have audience members all the way across the spectrum. They may be 1 step behind you. They may be 10 steps behind you. But you have audience members all the way across the spectrum. From where you were when you were in the depths of despair, they could be 100 steps behind you. They could be 1 step behind you. But leave them feeling like they can go the distance, that they can do it. Leave them feeling hopeful. If you're ready to step into your purpose, your message, your visibility, your next chapter, to create the business, the brand, or to grow your business and brand with your voice, your message, and your impact, I invite you to join us at the RePurposed Woman Live event right here in London. It's a 2-day transformational experience designed for women who are ready to own their story, craft their message, and step into visibility. The theme this year is True Voices of Transformation. It's a stage for your next chapter. I hope this has served you, and I cannot wait to connect with you again. There'll be details below in the show notes about how you can connect with me